Hey there, welcome to PCOS Conversations with Julie and Laura. We are so glad you're here today. I'm Julie Duffy Dillon. I am a fat positive dietitian that helps people with PCOS through my PCOS and Food Peace course. And I hope that I can give you some more tools to feel more energized and more home in your body. And this is Laura. Hey, Laura.
I'm giggling. Hi, I'm Laura Burns. I am a body liberation yoga teacher and activist. I teach classes and workshops and host retreats about body liberation, about yoga, about uh, my experience as a person with PCOS. And my whole thing is just helping people to um, be present and embodied and deal with the feelings that come up when you do that.
Yes, there's so much, and yeah, we hope that this channel and these episodes help you to feel more at home and give you more agency to do what the hell you want. So
Exactly.
yeah, well, first and foremost, we have a card pull, and before we push record, Laura and I were talking about ways I can make it not so bright in here, but I don't have the tools right now, but I will soon. And what you don't see is a lovely logo of someone with PCOS. There we go. Thank you. So we have a card deck of prompts that we like to go through. And so today's is, how can you advocate for yourself today?
Nope.
It's not
Oh,
going to
there it is.
come. Almost.
Huh. What a good question.
Yeah. How can you?
Julie, how can you advocate for yourself? Were you asking me at the same time?
We're on the same page, even though we're miles apart. Um, I think it's all important for all of us to, as I say this, I'm like, oh, it's so easy to say, but I wish all of us had permission to acknowledge and feel at home with being the expert of your body.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, wouldn't that be great?
it sounds like so trite just to say it. Like you're the expert of your body.
I mean, you are the expert, but like
Yeah.
we've spent a lifetime being taught that we're not the expert, that we can't trust our bodies. So that's why I was laughing because I'm like, oh, sounds great.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sounds wonderful, but totally out of reach.
But that's why we have to pull this card and ask this question and do this work, is because we have to reclaim the authority on our bodies.
Mhm.
And what a sad thing to have to do. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what we have to do.
I think about that though for like advocacy, like maybe to me it's like a grounding, and like if you can stay connected to that, I wonder how advocacy would be experienced, or if there'd be more energy behind it, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts about this. As somebody who has worked for, I don't know, the last 20 years to try to advocate for myself more and have made progress, but still
Yeah.
is not amazing at it. It's so hard. Um, it's really hard for me. Some people like are just like, boom, it's so good. Like they can do it and it's easy and they feel no problem. And I'm like, okay, okay, I'm shaking. I'm gonna ask for like this tiny concession or like advocate in this tiny way. Um, yeah, I think it's really important. And if you are watching and you're like, oh yeah, this is really hard for me, then like I feel you. It is very, very hard for me. I've come a long way and I'm still not that great at it. It feels really good though when I do it. Like every time, it's like, when you go and like lift weights or something, you're like building that muscle. And so it's hard, but like it gets easier. And I think that that's definitely true for this. It does get a little easier over time. You get more practice at it, you build that muscle, and it feels really good. Like I've had to do it a lot lately, in different ways, like with healthcare stuff, with relationships, with myself, advocating for myself on behalf of myself, um, fighting against the internalized fat phobia. um, and I guess what I would say is like, okay, so I said in my intro that embodiment and being present is a big deal. I find for myself when I am present in my body and embodied and can feel truly what's going on, I'm really connected with my physical sensations, my emotional state, my energy. I find that it's easier for me to advocate for myself.
Mhm.
And so I'm always like trying to think of like what's actually helpful for me to say to people. I think that's helpful because when I used to not be like present really in my body, it's like kind of the floating head walking around.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I didn't really try to advocate for myself, and if I did, it was like this weird, I don't know, like non I wasn't grounded, right? And so I would like try and it would like be hard and I would just be kind of like, okay, like whatever and like give up. When I'm in my body, I'm feeling grounded, I'm feeling like strong. Even if I'm terrified to do it,
Yeah.
it's like I can follow through with advocating better, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like, for example, I know that this is like very esoteric, but I went to the dentist recently and I medical things in general are really I've had a lot of trauma, especially dental work. I've had a lot of trauma and a lot of fat phobia at the dentist. And so I was really nervous, but I was having this pain. I was like, I have to go. And I was there and they were taking my blood pressure. And I was like so nervous. Had been taking deep breaths, and she came up and she was like, "Okay, hon, I gotta get your blood pressure." And I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be high." And she's like, "Oh, do you have high blood pressure?" I was like, "I'm very anxious right now." And she looked at me, like really looked at me. She's like, "Okay, I see that you're very anxious." I was like tearing up, and
Yeah.
I was like, if you take it now and it's high, can we take it again?
Mhm.
Later. And she was like, well, if it's dangerously high, like we won't be able to do what we need to do. But if it is very high, like you can drink some water, take some breaths, like
Yeah.
wait. Like she was very nice about it and accommodating. Um, but like she didn't know what was going on in my body and in my brain. You know what I mean? So like if I hadn't have said, hey, this is happening, like she probably just would have been like, oh, it's high. And then I just would have been like, oh no, it's high. Anyway, and then it was fine. It was like slightly elevated, like normal blood pressure. And
Yeah.
she was like, you're fine. And I was like, okay, good. um, but I think that part of the reason why it was okay is because I had some control in the moment of like being able to say, if it's high, can I have this? Um, and so that's another thing I guess that I would say. I know that I'm like rambling on about it, but having like, if you are like, okay, I'm going to have to go into this situation where I'm going to need to advocate for myself, have like some things ready.
Yeah.
Like I can ask for this. I can say this, like, because
Mhm.
then, like, if you are like me and you freeze in those moments, you can just pull on the information that you have,
Mhm.
and say, can I have this, or I need this, or like in the past, this has worked better for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like noticing that there may be options. That's what I hear with that. Like
Yes.
going into a situation, you may have more options to explore if you have the energy to do it, if you feel safe enough to do it. I
Hmm.
think about the simple one of even not getting weighed and just,
Hmm.
I know so many people will say to me, like, well, I never questioned it. I thought that I just had to.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you may get pushback. And it's your decision whether or not to get weighed or have anything done at a doctor's office or
Yeah.
any care provider office.
Yeah, but like having those options. And so, like, in that example, if you don't want to be weighed or you don't want to know what the number is, if saying, I don't want to be weighed and knowing that there could be like pushback on that, if that feels like too much to have to deal with, just saying, like, can you not say the number out loud? Or can I turn around and you not say the number out loud?
Mhm.
Because that's like a less, like, energetically taxing
Yep.
option, so I think that's a great point about the options. Yeah, just having options and like using the time before to prepare and have like little plans, like if this happens I can say this.
Yeah.
um and like I know some people can just advocate for themselves and not have to like think about it so much and have these plans, but like I can't,
There's
so
a few people I've met who really are able to like slide into the advocacy role,
mhm.
but I only am picturing two people.
Yeah,
I've talked to probably thousands of people with PCOS at this point. Most people are just feeling like how you've described.
I
Like,
also know 2 people that I.
there's 4. They're probably the same 2 people. But yeah, like it's there's so much of what you described. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a trauma response. And so yeah, going into those situations and feeling out of your body or that floating head experience is something that's evolved to protect you. And but yeah, for some people it just is really easy, but for most people I've talked to,
It's hard.
hard. And so having compassion for whatever decision you make. And I've heard that too from people, like e- experimenting with smaller things that feel more accessible, or certain providers that maybe feel safer to like experiment with, um, you know, asking for a blind weight or something along those lines. And the more practice it feels easier, or their body doesn't react in such a way that makes it feel out of touch. But anyway,
Yeah.
oh, so good. Yeah. I guess we need to move on to our next
Yes.
our next part of the show.
Yeah, did we have any questions from before the last one?
There were not any questions that I can recall.
Okay.
And remember, listener, that we are here to answer questions. So put them in the comments below, like anything that comes up for you as you're watching this or any other episode. We're happy to help. And yeah, so put it below.
Cool. Ask us your questions. We want to hear them. All right, so now's the time where we bring out this box and I shake it up and we pull, and by we I mean I pull a topic. It's full of various topics on Post-it notes. Whatever it is, we're going to talk about it. So no cheating.
I don't know what I'm hoping for, but I'm like,
I don't even know what to hope for.
I know, right?
Okay. Ooh, it's a green one. That means it's a newer topic that we put in. Dun dun dun. I love like drawings and stuff. It's like so fun. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
All right. Yikes. Okay. So I'm saying yikes because this one personally affects me. So PCOS symptoms, fertility. So
What do you want to do with it?
I want to talk about it.
You want to talk about it? Okay.
Yeah. And I appreciate Julie's asking me because she knows that this is like a hard topic for me sometimes. So spoiler alert, I'm probably going to cry at some point, but also I cry all the time. So not too surprised.
Fertility conversations make me cry too. And yeah, let me know whenever we need to steer in a different direction or something like that. When you're like, yep, don't want to go there.
I appreciate it. So yeah, so content warning. We're going to talk about fertility or probably infertility, stuff related to that. So if that is making you feel, and you want to leave, then
it's good seeing you.
It was nice to see you. Have a good day. I totally understand why you would not want to keep watching. Go click on another video.
You got a great one on hair that I'm sure would bring a lot of joy. And I think about like a fertility conversation with PCOS too. I think we're going to talk about it in a way that's different than most people with PCOS, just because of
who we are and how we think about
it. Your lived experience, the things that we prioritize and center. So yeah, that's the other thing that I think it'll be kind of different. And of course, like I think about all the stats and stuff. PCOS is the #1 cause of ovulatory infertility. So there's a lot of people who find out they have PCOS when they.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got like a lot of thoughts swirling. There's so many directions to take this. I guess I would just share go down the thought of like the fact that PCOS is most often talked about as like a fertility related disease. It's a disease? Oh my God, that's such a dumb question.
It's a condition. It's a condition. I'm never going to correct you on that or anything because I say it incorrectly all the time too. Yeah. It has consequences that are like reproductive, but also psychological and metabolic. But everyone
Yeah,
just
but
focuses
like
on the reproductive. Yeah.
people really just focus on that. And so I hear, and I know you hear so often, people are like, oh yeah, I got diagnosed, but my gynecologist was just like, you know, try to lose weight and come back when you want to have kids.
Yeah. Here's birth control. Come back when you want to have kids, which is
Yeah,
like
exactly.
so much misogyny and just, and also like hyper focus on the
Hmm.
ovaries, which
I literally,
PCOS has ovary in it, right? So of course
yeah,
there's going to be that like assumption, but there are so many different things that PCOS.
I think it's really misleading
Yeah.
because like I didn't know that it had anything to do with anything other than like
Yeah.
reproductive function. I didn't know. Like I'm a smart person, but like nobody told me that it did. And even like trying to look it up, like Googling
Mm-hmm.
PCOS, the information, it was all fertility, ovaries, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until I took your course that I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
there's like so much going on. And then as I continue to learn, oh, that's related to your PCOS, that's related to your PCOS. It's so much now. It's like such a, I mean, it really is like a comprehensive thing. It's your whole
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
But then the focus is on like this, small part of your body. And it's like, well, what if you, number one, what if you don't want to have kids? You don't care about kids,
Right. Right.
right? Then, like, your experience with PCOS, maybe you never push or learn that it has to do with all these other things, and you just live with all this other stuff and not knowing that it's all related. Or maybe you do want to have kids, and then it's like this, a struggle maybe to get pregnant and all this stuff, and the focus is still on that without bringing in everything else. And I gotta tell you,
Mm-hmm.
my quality of life, once I realized that it has to do with all these other things and that there are things I can do to help the whole package, my quality of life is better.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad. It like makes me angry, and I feel bad for the people who don't know that, who have been told only fertility related things or only like reproductive system things. Um, it like makes me mad. So many things about the PCOS experience makes me mad.
Yeah.
Um,
Like it's
that's
like,
like the first thing that comes up is that it's so fertility focused.
right. That's like centered and prioritized, and everything else is kind of like meh. And you know what? When you're describing there, this is so cheesy, but I'm like, oh, I think of GI Joe, like knowledge is power, and it really like understanding as much as you can about how PCOS is affecting your body, and just even if you're in a space where you're not experiencing a lot of symptoms, it is a condition that changes over time. Um,
Mm.
and so it's good to know, like, oh, I'm more tired in this season of my life. I wonder what's going on. Oh, I've heard that can be something from PCOS,
A
or
great point. Yeah.
yeah. So, and that the fertility piece, yeah, is so centered, but
Mhm.
yet also like there's so much gatekeeping with fertility treatment, and um, oh, even just how it's like focused on too. Um, it's the same old fat phobic shit. So
Yeah. As you were talking, it made me think about because it's so fertility focused that like so in your example, somebody who doesn't have a lot of symptoms, like thinking about people as they get older and like for
mhm.
whom like the reproductive system is like not the focus,
Mhm.
um they may start seeing more symptoms and not even realize that's what it is.
Yes.
And then that whole rest of their life, the other like half of their life basically,
Yep. It's another half, right? Exactly.
dealing with symptoms and not knowing that they're
Mhm.
related to PCOS and not maybe feeling like there's anything they can do to like help them or like to have like a comprehensive plan that's not just like, oh, working on this or oh, working on this.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes, it's
and I'm realizing now that I pretty much never see older people in PCOS spaces.
yeah, there's this misinformation that once people experience menopause, that they
Mhm.
don't have it anymore. People are told that by doctors, or because there's so much focus on the fertility piece only.
I
Uh,
still have it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's chronic, and so the reproductive consequences from PCOS start to go away, and the people who have high circulating androgens, that may start to lessen, but there's metabolic and psychological ones that continue. And for the people that I've worked with who are postmenopause, they tend to worsen, just like any other chronic condition. So
I look forward to.
yeah, well, and it just depends on, like, PCOS has so many different like experiences, and depending on which of the criteria people meet to get diagnosed with it. Some people, the higher androgens are like the symptoms that they are either the most annoyed by or affected by, and those start to lessen as they get closer to excuse me, as they get closer to menopause. So for them, PCOS may be easier. And then for other people, like insulin levels continue to go up, and their mood disorder may start to come up too.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, I want to switch gears and talk about, you brought up that there's a lot of gatekeeping around fertility stuff. I think we should talk about that because it affects so many people with PCOS that I've talked to. It affects me. It has affected me.
Mhm.
Um, so, and I think people, I don't know, would want to hear about that. So,
Yeah, it's something that is total 100% discrimination, and I appreciate you're like in it, um,
yeah.
and that sucks so much because there's things that people can do to help their fertility, but it can only go so far without getting assistance from reproductive medicine. And I know in our community we host monthly kind of themed meeting things. I don't like. There's probably a better name for that, but one of them has been on fertility, and the one of the big reasons why we wanted to do that is like, so people, if they're not able to access reproductive medicine, they can
Mhm.
hear what other people are doing to see like questions, or just to gather questions to ask people to see what they can do on their own. Um, but not everyone is going to be able to reproduce without reproductive medicine. Like
Mhm.
some people are require it.
Yeah. And so a lot of us who are fat find ourselves having to like search for doctors who will actually see it. So like I have been turned down by multiple like fertility clinics because my BMI is too high. I can't even get an appointment. Um, I live in Houston, Texas, which is a large city and has like one of the top medical centers in the world. People literally travel here to go to the doctor. I cannot find anyone in Houston who will see me.
Mm.
So I'm literally looking at other cities in the country that maybe a doctor will see me. What?
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
I mean, like, it's very frustrating, and I'm like joking about it, but I'm like very angry about it and also sad
Mm-hmm.
because it's completely discriminatory and it seems, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, it seems like they don't want to take on patients with a BMI over a certain number because they think it's going to fail and it like looks bad for them. Like that's what it seems like
That's
to me.
the reason that they give, and when we look at the data, it's not supported in that way. So
Listen, fat people get pregnant. I see them get pregnant.
yes,
See
fat
that
people give birth every day, and
fat people get pregnant. Oh my God. Mm.
so yeah, there's certain levels of risk with reproductive medicine, and when we look at something that has a lot of risk associated with it, is like when someone is considered of advanced maternal age, and there's like a line of futility where pursuing reproductive medicine just becomes like
Mhm.
not something it's not worth the risk in a sense, and that starts to happen when people, of course, people will talk about over the age of 35, like the risk drops significantly, and that's important because I know a lot of people listening are like, I'm like 38, 39, but people get IVF into their 40s
Mhm.
all the time, even though like if we look at graphs. I'm going to see if I can find some to put in the notes below. But there's graphs about like how the rate decreases so significantly after 34 or 35, but yet people still get reproductive medicine.
Mhm.
But that same drop off never happens with BMI.
Mm.
It never happens. Like
Hmm.
there's not a BMI that it reaches where it drops that significantly. But yet
Mhm.
people are told after this random BMI, which I've heard different ones.
Yeah, I've also heard different ones.
But and then also like I hear like the almost exact same recommendation for a certain amount to lose too, not based on BMI, which is like, where are you picking that number? But there's always the same amount. And but yeah, so I think that's really important to think about. And more people are talking about this in the research side,
Oh,
um,
that's
but not, when I say the research side, I mean clinicians who are um, anti-diet, who are wanting to find ways to fund research and also like pinpoint like, hey, this is what's happening, this is the data we have. They're trying to shine a light on it, but it's going to be a while before it really comes to the surface. There needs to be more researchers and more MDs basically who
Mhm.
are talking about it. And so if you're an MD watching and you have some clout, then the more you can talk about this, the better, whether you're a reproductive endocrinologist or not, you know. But that's something that's really shocking to a lot of people because people believe because of their size that it puts them at higher risk. And there is more risk, but it's not the same kind of like huge drop that we see with advanced maternal age. And people who are older, when I say older, as a 46-year-old, I feel like when someone's over 34, 35, they're still getting IVF. That's not a
Yeah,
cutoff.
38. So like I'm fat and, old according to
38 would have no, that is fine for a reproductive endocrinologist. There is no,
yeah. But
that
it
is
gets used as like more like fodder.
yeah, they'd probably push you to IVF sooner.
Mhm.
Yeah, because then, you know, you can pick the right eggs and everything. But still, it's really, that's why I'm like, this is discrimination because we can look at the graphs and we can see it.
Actually just
um, it's actually discrimination.
mhm.
So that's why like we need to shine a light on that. And in the meantime, people are like, I need this medicine to be able to have a family. And like that's a really big deal. Like that's like a big deal. And yeah, so I think
Yeah, and so then like thinking about like the stress, like if you are a person with PCOS trying to access medical care for fertility reasons, I mean really for any reasons, like and you're having trouble getting it. It's being, there's gatekeeping going on. There's false information that is false, but also no one will listen to you and they don't believe you and they don't believe what you're saying is true. All that does is ratchet up your stress, which then impacts your PCOS.
yes.
I've been in a cycle this for a while, and it's not great. I can feel the difference when I'm like actively trying to find somebody and like being turned down and being basically told that they don't care. They don't care if this is what I want or what I need or whatever, that they're not going to help me and that I should go try to find somebody else. I've been told like, good luck. Like,
They know. I
they
mean,
know.
because
They
they're
know.
all talking, all those different doctor groups, they talk about it. They know.
Mhm. So I just want to validate, like, if you're a person also in this position,
Mhm.
dude, I feel you. It's really hard. You're probably feeling a lot of emotions.
Mhm.
I'm like holding it together, but like I have big crying sessions. I get really fucking mad.
Yeah.
Um, mhm. I don't really want to talk about it with anyone ever because it just makes me so mad.
Well, there's like
Um,
no other option offered to you, and you have like access to try to figure out different things.
yeah,
And
what a
it's not,
privilege I have to be
yeah,
looking at other cities to like potentially travel to
right,
do this. What
yeah,
most people, or a lot of people, I don't know if most, but like a lot of people do not have that as
right.
an option.
Mhm.
And it's only an option to me because we're willing to make cuts in other areas to like
Mhm.
move the money around.
Yeah,
Like it's still a hardship to do. Like we'll have to, I mean, it won't be fun, but like we can do it. And if it, it's something that we care about, that we're willing to do that. But like, um, people deserve access. I shouldn't have to leave the fourth largest city in the United States
Yes.
to find somebody to see me.
Right. Yeah. It should be
Nuts. So,
totally there. That's ridiculous.
yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
it's something that really needs a change. And going to PCOS conferences, there are a few areas that frustrate me the most, and that's a big one. Because I think there could be a way for medical providers and specifically reproductive endocrinologists to be able to make this happen and figure out solutions and face their own fat phobia and yeah, stop gatekeeping.
Yeah.
So do it.
So just do it. As you were talking, I was just thinking like the choice that I and other people like me have to make, it's not fucking fair.
Mm-mm.
So, and the choice that I'm thinking of is like, if you have the privilege to do so, move the money around, travel to another city if you can find a person, or find somebody who will see you in your own town and know that you're putting yourself in a position to potentially experience more trauma.
Yes.
Um, and that goes for any doctor, honestly, any kind of doctor that you'd be seeing. This happens to me for literally everyone. Um, but like, it sucks so bad to always know that like if I want to get care, I have to sacrifice like my mental health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What? It's so I don't know. I feel really mad right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so like what a shitty system that we operate within. And like hopefully change is coming and stuff like that, but it's like just like validating like for myself and for anyone else who's watching, like it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I don't choose to talk about it with people because it makes me too tired. Like I
Yeah.
talk about it like with my husband and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I talk about it in the PCOS community, but like mostly not. Like I'm not in the fertility focused pod that we have, like where they talk about it. It's too tiring for me and too upsetting for me to like even talk about. And like that is, I don't know, that's bad. That sucks.
Yeah.
But like even like trying to get like community and support around it to me is like
Mm-hmm.
too tiring to try to get.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just feel like, and then people like sometimes make me feel like, well, you should talk about it, blah blah blah. Like I'm here to talk to you about it. I'm like, I appreciate that, but like also I don't want to. So just like if there are other people, I'm like I feel like I'm often made to feel like wrong and bad
Mm-hmm.
when I don't just want to talk to everybody about everything. So I just want to say like if you also don't want to talk to people about it,
Yeah.
like that's okay and like you don't have to.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, if you do, then do. But it's like so exhausting. And if you have PCOS, like you're probably exhausted.
You're probably tired.
You're probably experiencing chronic fatigue, and so emotionally and physically already really tired. Um, yeah, but if you do like want support, man, talk about it. Because like when I do want support about things, talking to people
Yeah.
and and sharing my experiences with them, it is really bolstering. So like we have just like a plug for the community. Like there's so few, I mean, I honestly don't know of another non-diet PCOS space. um and so like in the PCOS community that me and Julie run, like having those spaces to talk about things has really, I don't know, how long has it been, 9 months since we started the community.
Yeah.
The past 9 months has been really transformative for me in terms of like having space to talk about the PCOS experience. And like I choose not really to talk about the fertility side of things because I'm like in it and it's exhausting, but like getting the support in other ways is so amazing. And the people who do want to talk about fertility are finding really good community. So
Right.
just a plug for the community. I mean, I know like I run it with Julie, but like I'm also a member of it. I'm like the hair club for men. Um, I mean, it really has improved my life.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just throwing that out there. If you're thinking about it, it really helps. Like, just these topics are so hard and like emotionally fraught. Um, and like, I don't have anybody outside the community who really gets it in the ways that I need people to get it. So I'm just rambling now. Sorry.
Okay, I'm following you. I don't know if the listener is, but I have a feeling they are. But the thing that you're mentioning that I think is really important to name is that PCOS is a chronic condition, and so is infertility, and so are different parts of PCOS. Like there's these layers of different chronic kind of experiences that need support, and there's overlap, and then there's also like that feeling of like isolation and that experience of like, why didn't you ask for help? Like, no. And I think about for you or anyone else in the community, maybe not asking or wanting specific support about fertility just because of where you are today in that moment. Like getting support in other areas, I would assume helps the other parts too.
It absolutely
Yeah.
does. It
Yeah.
absolutely
It's
does.
like it's on your terms, Hey,
Just
it's
be
advocating for yourself.
Oh, boom. Bringing it full circle. Yeah, just being in the community and talking about other, like just being in a group of people where we all start from like, so it's zeros down here and we all start from here together
What's
is like,
zero, like dieting and stuff, or something?
well, kind
What's
of just
zero?
like a lack of understanding about PCOS, investment in diet culture,
That
all the
stuff.
things. So we're starting from, oh, I already understand what PCOS is and how it affects the body in, at least some ways. And
Okay.
I am not interested in talking about dieting with you. Like being able to start from this place and then like go from there is already like, I don't know, a balm,
Yeah.
honestly. It's like anything, when you connect with somebody who's starting from a place of understanding,
Yeah.
whether it's about PCOS or it's about um, I had this experience recently being in a group of Asian women
Mm.
entrepreneurs, and like, oh my god, starting from this place of understanding, it was so healing. Even though we're very different people, we have such different experiences. Like, I'm gonna cry. Being in any of these groups where you're with people who just get it and you don't have to explain yourself on this
Oh,
base level,
yeah.
dude.
I'm so glad you have that. I wish
Yeah.
it was everywhere,
And
and
like, what's sad is that it's hard to find,
yeah,
and like we all deserve it, but it's really hard to find. So,
yeah.
um,
Oh, hey, thank
yeah.
you for like giving us all your experiences. I know that's heavy, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot we didn't talk about.
It jumped out of the box and went in your hand for a reason. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too. Too
Maybe I feel like, we pull the one that we need to hear.
yeah. Well, we
So,
need to wrap up, but yeah,
sorry.
thank you though for giving us all of that of yourself. Like, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Julie.
Yeah.
Um, and so if you're still watching, thanks for sticking around. Feel free to comment and, share if you want your
Yeah.
experiences or just your like thoughts in response to what we've said.
Mhm.
Maybe, fertility doesn't really affect you, but you have thoughts about what we talked about. Yeah, anything that you want to say or any questions that you have about anything related to PCOS, even non-fertility related, because we use those questions to answer in a future video. So yeah, comment below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from us and have it show up in your feed. You can find us on Instagram at PCOS Body Liberation, which is also our website, PCOSBodyLiberation.com. We run the PCOS Body Liberation community. Oh my
That's a
God,
lot that you have to say there.
it's a lot. It's a lot. So yeah, so we also run the community that I've been talking about. That is a really wonderful place if you have PCOS to find community and resources and support with people who understand you, people who get it.
We would love to have you a part of it.
Yeah, come join us. And so now's the time when we cheers
Cheers.
to body liberation. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.